YouTube! Where the fuck have I been? Oh, man. So drop shotty. Oh, look at it. It's a hydraulic drop. This is not your typical drop shotty action. It's hydraulic. It's got that DICKS bearing system in it. Multi-ball bearings. Man, what's up, YouTube? Oh, what's going on? Man, where the fuck have I been, right? Oh, God. Well, as you can see, I'm in a new place of dwelling, a new living situation. That's why y'all haven't seen me. Well, that's a lie. There was Blade Show, and I'm the world's worst YouTube guy because all I did was spend time hanging out with friends, getting drunk, and running around Blade Show, and I did no videos. And then the week after, oh man, then 2 weeks after that, my future mother-in-law got into a car wreck and then I guess needed to come stay with us for whatever reason. So for like 2 weeks, my mother-in-law was here. Yeah. So that happened. Always, like my new stalwart. Yeah, and then after that, the last 2 weeks I've been moving. So there's that. Yeah, I didn't vanish. I know a lot of guys. So all my buddies, like I told y'all, I'm not dead. You can put away the funeral processions. All the knife companies, you can stop celebrating. I'm still here. Yeah, sucks, doesn't it? I'm gonna give a cheer. Oh, cheer. Oh, okay. Let me give a cheers to my buddy Lee. He's got a YouTube channel now. He just started. It's called Bama Knife Guy. He just had a dick replacement. Was it hip or dick? No, it was a dick. He had his dick replaced with a much smaller version. So cheers to Lee. Everybody go over to his channel, Bama Knife Guy, and give him some well wishes on his new dick transplant. To you, Lee. And maybe we can get together, like you said, and you can teach me how to sharpen. Congratulations on the dick implant, bro. Dick transplant. Sorry, it's dick transplant. So yeah. Real quick, I want to give my thanks, as I always do, to Stas23, Vinny at Nero Knives, him and Pete from Said Nada. Without those guys, 90% of y'all wouldn't even know I exist. Patty's Potato Peelers, Slicey Dicey, anybody that's ever given this channel love. And then I want to give a shout out to In the Pocket, Banner 24/7, Blue Collar Survival, Woodland Tactical, Big Red EDC. Oh, I should have put a shirt on. Big Red EDC. Who else am I missing? I feel like I'm missing Alchemy 1, but everybody knows who Alchemy is. Yeah, you have any, you go check those channels out. Oh, and 2 new channels, I Heart Knives and Alex's Knife Box. 2 brand new channels, and obviously Lee at Bama Knife Guy. Those 3 channels are new. You go check those channels out, guys. You got, man, the spread on you're guaranteed to find somebody that is your style. You know what I mean? That's why I shout those guys out, because they all do phenomenal work. Outpost 76. Did I say Outpost? He's another tester like me. That's probably why I forget him, because we don't really matter. We're just the guys that cut shit. But yeah, Outpost 76, another tester, another awesome guy who's doing the same stuff I'm doing. So what the fuck is going on? So what are we testing today? Well, as you saw by the thumbnail, I don't know how I'm going to put the thumbnail on this one, but as you see by the thumbnail, we've got some fun shit. We've got some 204P. We've got some 20CV that's been Rockwell tested. And we've got some M390. Oh, yes. So let's talk about that real quick. Okay, a couple guys. I got a bunch of guys asking me a bunch of questions of shit that's happened over the last couple weeks. So here's what's happened. If you aren't familiar, one of the things people were asking me about Kurt's, if you're familiar with Kurt, so Kurt, the guy that does all the Rockwell testing for us, he got a chance, it's pretty badass, he got a chance to go down to Peter's Heat Treat. He met Brad, their head heat treater guy over there. I think he came in on his day off, so huge shout outs to Brad for doing that. He came down, they kicked the shit. I guess he's a knife guy. Kurt was, telling the machine they use at his facility, and obviously his procedure, the protocol, blah, blah, blah. It was cool because it was a cool way for, get a little more validation for what we're doing. Because there's some guys out there that, because Kurt doesn't tell you where he is or where he works, that they think he might not be knowing what he's doing. So he went down there. He drove down there like 40 or 50 miles just to get another opinion. He brought 3 knives with him, and he had them all Rockwell tested right there with Brad. It was really awesome. So he brought a Lionsteel, I think it was Outpost Gerald's, a Lionsteel TRE tray. Kurt poked it, and he got, I want to say, he got an average of like 56.4. So it's somewhere between 55, like high 55 and high 55s and low 56 or mid 56s. So an average of 56.4. And then Brad poked it and got between low 56, high 56s and low 57. So both of them had an average of about 56, which was pretty badass. They were within a half a point of each other, which was fucking cool. He also brought a Spyderco Manix 4V. He poked it, and I want to say he got 65.2, and then Brad got 65.8. So again, right within that half point range, which is like, you know, you'd expect, being that the machines are a different caliber, you know, probably slightly differently calibrated. But yeah, it was pretty fucking badass, man. So Kurt got his, you know, his testing, you know, validated by Peters. The reason I bring that up is because there's one knife, the one knife that he tested, it was either a Shuffler or a Dom. It was the one that he poked like 6 times and got between, I want to say 49 and 58 HRC. He brought that one to Peters, and Peter poked it like 3 times, and he got like 59 HRC on it, which is obviously not what he got. But so a lot of guys were holding that shit up like it was like the last piece of pussy on earth, right? He brings 3 knives, and one of them didn't line up. Everyone needs to slow their roll real quick. First off, look, I'll be the first to admit when I'm wrong. Everyone knows that, and I'll be the first to tell anybody else when they're wrong. But I don't think Kurt made a mistake or anything. I think the knife's just fucked. I think the knife was probably burned while they were grinding it. These Lionsteel knives are very thin. It was a knife like this. It was like a slip joint. They do a lot of dry grinding. As you can see on their Instagram, they do dry grinding. So it's real easy. Laren at Knife Steel Nerds actually wrote an article about this. How easy it is to burn it, to ruin a temper on a knife, especially being that thin. So I think the knife just got fucked. And the only reason I say that is because it wasn't like Kurt poked it 6 times. He poked it once, got 15 to 49 or whatever it was, sent it back to the owner. I believe it was LTK. And then LTK sent it back to him. And then he poked it again like 2 weeks later, like 4 or 5 more times. And in between that knife was, you know, going back and forth, obviously at work, he was doing other Rockwell testing for other pieces. I'm sure he did other knives in between there. So, the odds that he were to fuck up just that one knife on 6 different occasions between a 2-week span, it just doesn't add up. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that knife at this point has been poked probably 9 or 10 times between 2 different Rockwell testers, and they've gotten 6 different results. So again, some guys were freaking out. Oh God, it was just a few guys. It wasn't anything big, but I just wanted to address that because some guys asked me about it. I don't think the knife, I don't think Kurt did a single thing wrong. I just think it was, the knife's just fucked. That's all. Because the other 2 obviously were fine. So there's that. Another thing, people ask me where Kurt went. Kurt deleted his YouTube channel and his Instagram, which by the way, that happened 3 or 4 days before he went to Peters. So there was one person in particular making the assumption that Kurt deleted it because of the Peters visit, which I don't know why he would, because it was all positive. But yeah, he deleted that way before that. So it had nothing to do with that. The reason he did that is because, excuse me, it's just Kurt's a back of house. He's like me. He's a back of house kind of guy. He doesn't want a lot of attention, and this is starting to become a big thing, and we're getting a lot of notoriety from knife companies and makers and whatnot. So he just didn't want it affecting his personal life, much like Nick Shabazz. Nick Shabazz keeps his identity a secret, and we all respect that because he doesn't, want that to interfere potentially with his work life or personal life, and that's basically what Kurt did. So he's not going anywhere, guys. He's still there. He's still testing for us. We're actually trying to raise some money and donate money to get a Rockwell tester for him and have it calibrated. He knows the calibration company that does his job, so he has a place that'll calibrate it and yada yada. So we're trying to do that so he doesn't have to do it at work, and he doesn't have to worry about that happening. So Kurt didn't vanish. He's not gone. Everybody's still here. He's still testing knives. He's just not on social media. That's all. He doesn't want people bugging him. Like me. I get guys that threaten me and bug me all the time in a negative way. So it's kind of part of the territory. So that's all that was. So now that we've addressed that noise, that really wasn't noise. What are we doing today? All right. So today I've got M390. I've got 20 CV. That was Rockwell. And I've got 204P. Three steels that are in essence identical, right? They're made by three different companies. One's made by Crucible, one's made by Carpenter, one's made by Bowler, Oodleholm. So, obviously so I want to get this straight real quick. Okay, the difference between their different perspective generational PM processes, some guys try to say that one might be better than the other. The heat treat process that goes on, plus your edge geometry and the Rockwell hardness of the knife are going to make a far bigger difference than slight differences in their process. So these are, for all intents and purposes, the same steel. Plus, also batch sizes. We've seen with the PMI readings that the same steel obviously is going to vary from knife to knife in small increments from batch to batch, let alone from company to company. So the differences in batches are going to be, you're more likely to have, you get what I'm saying? You're more likely to have a knife. You can have a knife from Carpenter and 20 CV and a knife from Crucible and 204P be chemically identical because the batches have slight variance. So there's no real difference. So again, for all intents and purposes, either the same steel. So I want to dead that because I get guys trying to argue that with me all the time. And you know who you are. Cheers to Lee's dick replacement. It's traumatic. So here's a cool thing. So this is the first time I got 204P, by the way. So the reason I want to do this is because there's been a lot of talk about this M390 thing because it's starting to get some traction. Now, all of a sudden, a lot of reviewers want to jump out of the woodworks and start talking about what me and Gerald and a bunch of other guys are doing. And it's been the Rockwell. Rockwell has gotten brought up. And you keep hearing me banging on it and thumping about it. Now, I'm going to say this more than once in this video. And everyone needs to listen and understand this. The cut testing came first. Okay? For all the reviewers out there, or guys, or Ankerson, you, whatever, these scientists that want to... that's right, I brought it, in case you're wondering. I can hold it. Oh, look at that, I'm holding it. This is not a, what did somebody say? An HRC witch hunt, a Rockwell witch hunt. No, that's not what this was. This all started with cut testing, guys. This all started with me and Gerald taking knives and cutting and seeing their relative performance against cardboard, right? Same edge angle, same edge finish, same cardboard, what happens, okay? And I started to notice, what he started to notice, not just in personal use, but in our actual testing, is that M390 and its variants was performing nearly identical to S30 and S35 VN. Now, this is, what is the common denominator, okay? Chemically, M390 and its variants should be a superior steel, and it's touted, and you buy knives in upgraded M390 steel. It should be a better performance, should have better corrosion resistance and better wear resistance, right? Well, it wasn't. Now, why wasn't it? Well, me naturally as a chef, a guy who's been using knives his whole life, and someone who's a nerd when it comes to steel, the first thing I'm going to go to is, well, if the edge geometry is the same, sharpened at the same angle, and the finish is the same, and we're cutting the same stuff, and this is happening over not just one brand, multiple brands across the same steel composition, well, likely it's probably the Rockwell. M390's benefit over S35 and S30V is that it's stable at higher Rockwells. So you can take that knife and you can bring it to a higher Rockwell and it's going to be stable, and then you take full advantage of its, added vanadium content and added carbon content. So has a higher carbide volume as well. You're not going to see that unless it goes to a higher Rockwell. So based off of the metallurgical definition of what's supposed to happen and the results that I was getting on the cut testing, I made the assumption it's probably at a lower Rockwell. Then we started sending these knives to Kurt to Rockwell test, and they were coming back with a Rockwell range of between about 57 and 60. The S30 and S35 VN knives were coming back around 57 to 60. So that's the reason why. Again, CATRA testing. A lot of guys bring up CATRA testing. I don't think it has any relevance necessarily to everyday real world use. And that's what I do here. I do real world testing for real world guys, right? What happens when you take the knife out and you cut cardboard, right? And I narrow down the variables that are important and relative to the test, which is things that you can control at home. What can you control? You can control the cardboard, right? What you're cutting. You can control the edge geometry, the angle, and you can control the finish, which is what I do. And I do them all the same. Okay? It kills those variables from test to test. But again, CATRA testing does the same thing. Matter of fact, Laren over at Knife Skill Nerds, again, go check out the website. He cracked the code. He has a formula where you can predict CATRA testing results. The three biggest components in that formula are steel composition, edge geometry, and Rockwell, because those are the three biggest contributors to wear resistance, and in this case, the performance, which is edge retention. Okay, guys, I'm not making this shit up. This is based on science. Okay, so based on his formula, okay, if you take M390 and S30V at the exact same Rockwell, okay, M390 will outcut. Okay, if they're both at 30 degrees inclusive and both at 60 Rockwell, M390 will outcut S30V by, I think it was 12 or 15%. I want to say it was 12%. 15%. I'm sorry, 15%. That's it. At best, it's either between 12 and 15%. It's not much. Okay, so in everyday use, 15% is just outside of that. You know, I say anything over 10%, right? And again, I didn't pull that fucking number out my goddamn ass. That is this in the scientific community. 10% variance is an acceptable level of variance, right? To call an experiment. So anything over 10%, it's barely over that threshold. So if you have two knives, and now that gap is going to significantly reduce this lower down the Rockwell. So if you take both those knives at 59, it gets shorter. You take both those knives, S30 and M390, and at 58, and it gets even shorter. Because as we all know, where these reviewers say they say this in the same breath, and it doesn't make any sense to me. We all know that the Rockwell C scale is not linear, okay? The difference between 55 and 56 is much smaller than the difference between 65 and 66. It becomes more than exponential. It jumps dramatically, okay? So when I have reviewers saying that, oh, HRC is not a big deal, 1 or 2 points doesn't matter, but then in the same breath, they turn around and they say, well, you know, the Rockwell C scale, it's an exponential scale. You know, it gets more dramatic as you go up. It doesn't make any fucking sense, guys. You're contradicting yourselves. So yes, 1 or 2 points of Rockwell absolutely make a dramatic difference in your wear resistance, in your edge retention. And it gets more dramatic the higher up the scale you go. And it becomes less dramatic the lower you go. So if you have two knives with equal geometry, equal edge geometry, and equal edge finish, and they're both at 58, one's M390 and one's S30V, the performance gap is going to be real small. The reason this is an issue, and the reason I bring this up a lot, is because all these M390 knives cost more than their S30V counterparts. That's not cool to me. If I'm going to spend more money on a superior blade steel that's touted as having better wear resistance, I want that. And I want what I'm paying for. And I want you guys to get what you're paying for. That's what this is all about. So I want everyone to remember that this started at cut testing. Okay? This wasn't, I didn't just pull a number and go, hey, these knives need to be harder. No, they all need to be harder, period. But it started with results. They're not performing. And I'm going to do some math once I'm done cut testing these. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to go math on you motherfuckers. You better check me at the end. We all know how good I am at math. And I'm going to add it all up, and we're going to see, because I can spitball in my head and know that the numbers are fairly similar. I remember. I'm going to take them all, and I'm going to do the math on it real quick, but that's what I want everybody to understand. This is not a Rockwell hunt. This is not a witch hunt. The knives are performing poorly in relation to S30, S35 VN. Some M390, 204P, and 20CV knives have underperformed at good S30 or S35 VN, like Chris Reeves. Okay? So I bring that, I want everyone to get that clear right now. This is not a witch hunt for HRC. It's based off of data, based off what's happening with the cut testing. That's where it went. Okay. Another argument. Well, you're not talking about the heat treat. Okay. Fuck. Again, guys, do your research before you come at me. Okay. Talk about the heat treat. Laren, again, did another article not that long ago, talking about the difference between a bad heat treat and a good heat treat, and a good heat treat and a really good heat treat. Difference between a bad heat treat and a good heat treat is huge. It's astronomical. Okay, it's unbelievable what a good heat treat does as opposed to a botched one. Difference between a good heat treat and a really good heat treat, much smaller difference. The reason I don't bring up the heat treat is because we're talking about production knife companies. These are professional knife manufacturers, okay? We're going to assume that they're all doing a good heat treat. Some may do better than others, but in general, they're all going to do a good heat treat. Being that their heat treat doesn't vary wildly between each company, and how do I know that? Is it the Rockwell? No. Through the cut testing. That's right. I can tell their heat treat from company to company based on how they sharpen, how they deburr, and how they perform. Okay? So, now here's why. Based on, these are production heat treats, and everyone's doing a good or just slightly better than good heat treat, your edge geometry and edge finish and Rockwell are going to make a far bigger impact on your edge retention than the differences between production heat treats. This is why I'm not bringing up the actual heat treat. Guys like the Fair and Forge boys and other people want to bring this up and act like, and it's cool. He's a knife maker. That's fine. I respect him for that. But if he wants to turn around and say that a Rockwell number is just almost an arbitrary number, it's not. If that was the case, then make all your knives at 55 HRC. You're not gonna, because the Rockwell matters. How hard the steel is. The Rockwell rating is showing how hard the steel is, right? And I've said this before. Edge retention is two things. A, how the steel holds the apex, and then B, how the edge degrades. Okay, HRC is directly reflected if we're talking about a good standard production heat treat. How hard the steel is gonna determine how well the edge holding is going to be. Further things after that, like the heat treat process, is how it's going to break down. Okay, and based on my cut testing, they're all relatively the same. You get someone like Chris Reeves, where their heat treats better than good, and you see on the working edge front a significant increase, a fairly 30-40% increase. That's not what we're dealing with here. Okay, you see what I'm saying? That's on the same. That's on a different front. If you look at the fine edge holding of a Chris Reeves S35 versus like a Spyderco, they're nearly identical. Why? Because the steels are nearly at the same HRC. So I want everyone to understand, I'm not making this shit up. I'm not pulling it out of the air. I do my research, and all this is experience. I've done this for years. I've sharpened knives at low and high Rockwell for years. I know how they feel. I can tell when a knife has a really good heat treat and when it has an okay heat treat. This is all from experience and from the data. This is not an HRC hunt. I'm going to keep saying that over and over again. Guys are forgetting that, or they're not forgetting that. Reviewers who have not watched all of my videos or all of Gerald's videos are popping off at the mouth. And when I confront them and say, hey, well, have you seen this? Well, I don't have the time to watch all your videos. All right, that's no problem. If you don't have time to watch all my videos, that's fine. But do me a favor and shut the fuck up and stay in your lane. Okay? You stay over there and stay in your lane and do your reviews, and I'll do my cut test. If people ask you how you feel about it, either contact me and ask me and we can go through the data, or just tell them you don't have an opinion because you haven't done all the research yet. And you don't have all the data yet. That's what maybe you should do. So that's what I want everybody to understand. That's why we're doing this. So I'm doing another test. These are 3 knives donated by 3 separate individuals who have all come to me and they want them Rockwell test. I thought it was a perfect opportunity to show, again, so 204P M390 and all of its analogs. So I have already wrote down some numbers. I haven't done the math yet, but just for the record, M390 and its variants are the most tested steel I have done, period. Okay? I say that because everyone says, oh, it's an HRC witch hunt. It's a witch hunt. You do not hear me talking about crewwear. You don't hear me talking about K390. You don't hear me talking about XHP. You don't hear me complaining about, or anyone complaining about HRC in these steels. It's only an M390 because this is where the performance is shown to suffer. And then the subsequent Rockwell testing has shown that they're all about the same Rockwell. So I know I'm beating a dead horse here, guys, but I really got to get this point across that this is not a witch hunt. This is based off facts. The fact is that these knives do not perform better than S30 or S35 VN across multiple brands, across multiple makers, across multiple variants, whether it's M390 or 20CV. They all are hitting about the same as S30 and S35. So now that I've beaten the fuck out of that horse and bored the fuck out of everybody, I made some notes. Did I cover everything? Yeah, so that's where we're at on that. So now that I'm 25 minutes in, yeah, I just wanted to clarify that. So like I said, I've got 204p. I've got 20 CV that has been Rockwell. I want to believe this thing was at 57 or 58. And then I've got M390. So, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, testing.
There's something about the dog that reminds me to open Hell's Gate and watch the Reaper catching all the souls while they're sleeping. Oh, it's a perfect night. And Hell's Gate opened up to my right. I got you by my side. Let it pull us into the embedded horizon. Let the wind blow from left to right. Something about the dog that reminds me to open Hell's Gate and watch the Reaper catching all the souls while they're sleeping. Oh, it's a perfect night. Something about the dog that reminds me to open Hell's Gate and watch the Reaper catching all the souls while they're sleeping. Oh, it's a perfect night. Together the strength of us combined can hold off the Reaper as they try to pull us apart, take our souls away. Ooh, watch us get my body shakes. About the dog that reminds me to open Hell's Gate and watch the Reaper catching all the souls while they're sleeping. Oh, it's a perfect night. Something about the dog that
Oh man, you know, it's a lot of fun when I fuck shit up and I'm wrong. But it even makes me laugh when shit kind of goes the way you think it's going to go. Alrighty then, the results. Before I get into the results real quick, I want to talk about another thing. And again, guys, I apologize. I'm rambling a lot in this video, but there's a lot of shit I got to cover because I haven't been making videos in like a month. Another issue that was brought up, okay, about this whole HRC thing, that other reviewers who feel the need to chime in on things that they're, in my opinion, not qualified and don't have any business throwing their hat in that ring. They don't need dog in this fight, but they want to talk about it, so I've got to respond to it. One of those things was durability. Okay, so we keep hearing this adage that, oh, the reason makers don't make the knife harder is because of liability issues, right? The knives are going to chip, they're going to break, they're going to snap. This is complete bullshit. Okay, if we've learned nothing, if I've or anyone's learned nothing about with my bailout test, or Sean Triple B just did a video a couple of weeks ago. What was it, K390 at, I think it was like 65 HRC or 66 or some crazy shit. You saw him, he cut a fucking nail in half and had a small, looked like a chip basically on the blade. That knife was 20 thousandths behind the edge at 30 degrees inclusive. This knife is 24 thousandths behind the edge at 30 degrees inclusive. Okay, so this Neutron is basically the exact, is thicker than that knife he had on there. Okay, let that sink in real quick. The knife he was using is thinner than this Neutron. Maybe your Neutron at home's a little bit thinner, but I doubt it's much under 20, right? A PM2 is 20 thousandths behind the edge. The knife that he did that video with was a 65 Rockwell knife at the geometry of a PM2. And he cut a fucking, like, I don't know, was it a 16 penny nail in half, whatever the fuck that was. It's geometry, guys. Chipping, rolling, we talked about this toughness thing, but I guess I got to get into it again. It's geometry. Geometry has everything to do with how the knife's going to behave in a toughness situation, okay? A knife at 65 HRC is stronger than a knife at 58, at the same steel at 58 HRC. To an extent. Now, there's also, guys are going to talk about, carbide volume. That's true. That's absolutely true. But that is in relation, carbide volume and the toughness of a steel and the strength of a steel in relation to carbide volume is in relation to different steels. So something like a Vtoku 2 at 62 HRC is going to be tougher and probably stronger than K390 at 62 HRC because K390 has such a higher carbide volume and therefore it's more susceptible to break. But I'm talking about the same steel. I'm talking about M390. If we're talking about the same steel, we're talking about M390, 58 HRC versus 64 HRC. Yes, is a 64 HRC technically more brittle? Yes, but it's also technically stronger. Will it chip and break before it plastically deforms, before it bends, stays bent, or rolls? Yes. But that's not relative to folding knives, okay? Because it's about the geometry. Okay, again, geometry. I just referenced Triple B's video. You saw my videos. The geometry dictates that. Most production knives you see are at or over 20 thousandths behind the edge. That is more than thick enough to literally hammer a nail in half at 65 HRC. Okay, that's it. Period. There's nothing to argue about that. It's not a matter of Rockwell that's going to determine whether a knife's going to fail, whether it's going to crack or break. It's the end user, you. Like someone like me doing stupid shit with it, okay? So don't do stupid shit. And B, most production knives already have the geometry to literally support hammering a nail in half. Let that sink in. And I'm not saying this. This is science. This is a fact. And it's also demonstrated by me. It's being demonstrated by Triple B. I can show you, I'll do another toughness test and give you an example and show you guys what I mean, okay? If I have to keep reiterating this. High Rockwell does mean a steel is stronger. That in that case, yes, it means it's more brittle. Okay, but that strength yield curve hits a certain point. Not saying all knives need to be 70 Rockwell. It's another thing guys are saying. Oh, harder's better, harder's better. No, I'm talking optimal for cutlery. I'm talking M390 needs to be at 63 to 64. 62 the lowest. Period. Give us 62. That's it. Okay. Guys talk about warranty claims. Warranty claims. Yeah, there's gonna be more warranty claims. Really, there's warranty claims. Cool. The Spyderco Police 4 is in K390. I want to say it's 120 thousandths stock thickness, and I want to say it's at 20 thousandths behind the edge or lower. Kurt's tested 3 of those at 64 plus HRC. That is a over 4-inch long blade. Okay. Do I have one around here? Do I have one? Let's see. Do I have one? Hold on. Here we go. Hold on. We do. Okay. Here we go. There we go. Here we go. Let's talk about durability now. Okay, this knife was poked twice and got an average reading of 64.5 Rockwell, or 65, I want to say. Okay, 64, 65 Rockwell. I know Kurt's tested a couple of these that also came in around that exact thing. So let's find out right now. Ready? Zero these calipers. Stock thickness of, smaller, I'm sorry. Stock thickness of 100 thousandths. 100 thousand stock thickness, okay? This is, what are we at? This looks like about 15 degrees per side. Let's take a gander here and look. No, this is 17 degrees per side. We're at about 17.5 degrees per side. 35 degrees inclusive, right? Is that 17? Something like that. 35 degrees inclusive. And in the dead center of the blade, we are at 25 thousandths behind the edge, okay? 25 thousandths behind the edge. This knife is 20% thicker behind the edge than the knife you saw Triple B hammer through a fucking whatever gauge nail that was. Okay? And this is probably at close to that Rockwell. If not, I know it's at 60, almost 65, okay? Somebody tell me, okay, see that thin blade? How many Police 4s you've ever heard snap in half? Or have fucking fingernail-sized chips taken out of them? I'll wait. Somebody tell me, please. I'm not even using Rex 45 because those are sprint runs. Someone's going to say, oh, people don't use their sprint runs. This is a production model knife. Production right here. In production. Somebody tell me how many times you've heard of this knife snapping in half. We saw Triple B take this and hammer it into a fucking brick. Tip didn't break. That's because the steel is strong. That's because we don't want tough steel. We want strong steel. And that strength is going to come directly from the HRC and the geometry. This knife has the geometry to hammer a fucking nail in half. Period. You've seen it happen with a knife that was 20% thinner than this knife. I mean, so that argument's it's a dumb fucking argument, guys. It's a dumb fucking argument from people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Okay, higher Rockwell knives does not mean chipping, and that's another thing. So let's say you take this knife right here, right? Let's say we take this knife, right? Watch this. Here we go. Here we go. There we go. See that? So if this knife was at 64 HRC and I hammered it through something, right? And I put a fucking chip that big in the blade, right? Okay? They're saying that at 64, they don't want warranty claims. Are they going to warranty a chip that big? No, they're not going to fucking warranty a chip that fucking big. They're going to fucking tell you you're a dumb shit and you fucking decided to put a fucking chip that big in it. Okay? Second off, this at 58 HRC. Let's say you put a roll that big in it doing the exact same thing you would have done to put a chip that size in it. Are they going to warranty it? No, they're not going to fucking warranty a big fucking looped chip roll that comes out like this. You know why? Because you were doing dumb shit. So that's my point, guys. If you took this knife and you fucking, again, like the bailout. Let's say you stuck this into something and you pried on it, right? And this thing's at 58, so at 64 HRC, boom, it snaps. You lose the tip. Are they gonna warranty that? No, they're not gonna fucking warranty that. Let's say same thing. It's at 56 HRC or 58. You stick it in your pry, and it's tougher, so it does what it's supposed to do. It plastically deforms. It bends. So now you got a fucking blade looking like a bent dick. Are they gonna warranty that? No, they're not gonna fucking warranty that. They're gonna tell you to go fuck yourself, as they should, because you fucked the knife up. Okay? If you're going to do dumb shit like me, then you got to be prepared for the consequences. It's that simple. Either learn how to sharpen, learn how to fix it, learn how to grind, learn how to fix it. No one's going to warranty that, whether it's bent or broken, period. So that argument is just, it's a moot point. It's dead in the water. It's stupid. It's fucking retarded. How many fucking Gail Bradley's fucking knife here? This fucking knife right here. This is from BJ. I bought this off of BJ. This knife, where's the fucking calipers? What'd I do with them? Here we go. This knife right here. This knife's like, what? This knife's 17 thousandths behind the edge, right? How many Gail Bradley 2s or 1s have you ever seen with the fucking blade snapped in half or fucking giant chips taken out? How many? Maybe one ever? I don't know. I think I might have seen one, and he was probably doing some dumb shit with it. And this is M4. Spyderco's M4 comes up around 62, 63. So, if this is at 58 and you fucking put a bend... So, again, I'm repeating myself, but that's the point, guys. It's dumb. It's stupid. It's a dumb fucking argument. The geometry is going to dictate how strong... The HRC is going to give it the strength. The geometry is going to give it the strength to hold up to abuse. Guys talking about chips are talking about dumbass little chips in the edge that if you don't know how to sharpen out yourself is your own fucking fault. Period. Okay? Getting mad because the steel is hard and it starts to microchip at the edge when you run in and cut things, that's like getting mad at your tire for getting flat when you run over a nail. No, you ran over a nail. It got flat. You put a hole in it. You can fix it. If you don't, guess what? You don't know how to fix it, then you got to pay someone to do it. It's that simple. Buy yourself some Fix-A-Flat. Learn how to fix, or how about this? And you don't, let's say your car, you blow a tire, you don't know how to change a tire. That's like you getting mad at the tire for blowing when it ran over a nail because you don't know how to change a tire out. Whose fault is it that you don't know how to change a tire, even though you're driving a vehicle? You accept the responsibility. You're driving the vehicle. You should need to know how to fix the fucking tire, how to replace the tire and put a spare on, right? But you don't. So you call fucking Michelin and bitch at them that the tire went flat because you ran over a nail and you don't know how to fucking swap out the tire. So you got stranded on the side of the road for fucking 8 hours waiting for fucking AAA. Right? That's the same shit. Getting mad at a knife for chipping at the edge because it's hard and you ran it into something hard is bullshit. That's user error. That's your own fucking fault. And that's another thing. I don't want to hear there's so many dumbasses in the fucking world. I don't give a fuck. I don't care how many dumbasses there are. Okay? I don't care how many people you think are stupid. Okay? You want to get into knives and you want to drop $200 on a fucking knife, then you need to know how to maintain it. And that's that. It's not gonna, but as far as catastrophic failure because the knife is at 65, look, hey, there's no failure on this knife. Not at all. Okay? Matter of fact, if I had the money, I'd buy this off of Kenny and not hammer a fucking nail through a nail. So, now that I'm 13 minutes in, I got that off. Again, I'm sorry, but I had to address this shit. So many dumb motherfuckers, specifically reviewers, talking shit and just talking out the side of their neck. So, what results did we get? Staggering, crazy results, right? Here we go. Let's look. 204p, 0562 in 204p. Ready? I got 116.4 feet fine edge holding and total working edge of 154.4. TRM Neutron 20CV. This has been Rockwell at, I want to say, 57 or 58 HRC. 123.5 feet fine, 147.3 working edge. Lionsteel, the CK, I think it's a collector's knives edition, right? Whatever, I don't know what model this is. Okay. Fine edge holding, 85.5 feet. Total working edge, 116.4. Yep, that's a real thing. Do these numbers sound weird to you? Do they sound... They don't sound weird to me. You know why? I'll tell you why. Because, well, at least these two knives right here in particular don't sound weird at all. These sound about damn near average to what I've been getting. So, let's look at this real quick. So, as of with these three knives being tested, I have now tested M390, 20CV, or 204P in one of its variants from 4 or 5 different makers, and I've tested a dozen knives already. Okay? Same edge geometry, same edge finish. Okay? So here we go. I've got fine edge and working edge. For fine edge holding, S30V, average fine edge holding for S30V that I've tested is 123.4 feet. Average fine edge holding for S35VN, 129.1 feet. Average fine edge holding for M390 20CV and 204P, 117.1 feet. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the average fine edge holding of M390 20CV or 204P is less than that of S30 and S35, like I've been saying. So here in my test, the difference between S30's fine edge holding and S35VN's edge holding was 5%. The difference between S30V and M390 was also 5%. Difference between S35 and M390 fine edge holding was 10%. All negligible. 10% or under, like I said, accepted standard of variance. So in essence, all 3 of those steels, well, all 5 of those steels are all the same. They're between a 10%, they're within a 10% variance. They all cut nearly this. For matters of everyday use, they cut exactly the same. Okay? Now, let's do working edge. I don't have any S30V. I haven't done any working edge on an S30V. I did that, started early in my testing. At S35VN and M390, though, I have done working edge on. Okay? Average working edge of S35VN, 187.8 feet. Average working edge for M390, 204P, and 20CV, 182.3 feet. Giving S35VN a 3% advantage, which again is negligible. Negligible, okay? It literally, these knives literally perform exactly the same. In the, whatever, I don't know, 25 knives that I've tested between these, they perform the same. I'm going to continue to test these knives. I have some more that are going to come next week. I will continue to test these knives. And I guarantee you that gap is going to do this. It's just going to get tinier and tinier and tinier the more samples that I have. Again, these are just the knives that I've tested, but based on my data, based on 20CV 204P and M390 over at least 5 different brands, 5 different manufacturers from 4 different countries, all across the world, across wherever, they literally perform exactly the same as S30, S35VN when cutting double wall cardboard. Period. Now, something that I thought was odd was this guy right here. This surprised me, okay, because this cut very low. This knife has cut the lowest out of any S30V, S35VN, or M390 variant that I have ever tested, okay? So I did some calculations, okay? Where am I? Over here on this side? There we go. All right. So the difference between this ZT and this Neutron with working edge was 5%. There was a 5% difference between this fine edge holding and this fine edge holding. The difference between the ZT and the Lionsteel fine edge holding was 33%. The ZT outcut this Lionsteel by 33%. The difference in edge holding, fine edge holding between this Neutron and this Lionsteel was 27%. Okay, so you have an average of about a 30% increase in edge retention with these 2 knives over this one. And again, chemically, the same steel. This knife is thinner behind the edge than both these, so that's not even a matter. Exact same edge angle, exact same edge geometry, and the same edge finish. 33% different. So then I went back and ran some more numbers. I know, right, guys? Your brain's going to be hurting by the end of this one. Old Steve doing some math on you. Okay? So then what I did is I took all of the other M390 20CV and 204P, okay? And I added them all together. And for fine edge holding, all of the 20CV, 204P, and M390 that I have tested, other than I took out, where is it? I took out the, where is it? The Iona, I think? I left the Iona out. Yes, there we go. So I took out the Lionsteel Iona because, or the Iona, because that was also at 99 feet. That was also very low. So I took that out of there. So all other M390, 204P, that was an average of 122 feet. For fine edge holding, with the Iona, it was 117 feet. So all the other M390 up against this Lionsteel, they outcut this Lionsteel by 43% fine edge holding. So across all other brands, this Lionsteel was they had 43. So it was 122 feet average. And Lionsteel cut 85.5, so 43% difference. Now, then I went into working edge, added up all the working edges that I had. Okay. Average of M390, 204P, and 20CV working edge was 191.7 feet. Okay, that was again me taking the lines. That's why I took the Iona without the Iona, right? With the Iona, it was 182.3 feet. Okay, without the Iona in there, because that was another steel that I feel suffers from the same issues. It was very, very low. This line still cut 116.4 feet. For working edge, there is a 65% difference. Every other M390 knife that I've tested, bar that Iona, outcut this Lionsteel by 65% working edge, which I think is a very important one. The fine edge is kind of whatever, right? Fine edge is, maybe someone's got thicker hair than me or thinner hair or whatever. I'm talking working edge, till it will no longer slice paper against the grain. Every other M390 knife that I had outcut this Lionsteel by 65%. The reason that's significant is because I know Gerald had tested a couple of these Lionsteels and they also performed poorly. So I don't know. And then when Kurt took them to get tested, one of his was the tray that he tested came back at 56 to 57 HRC. This I'm gonna send this off to get tested by Peters as well as Kurt. But I'm gonna assume that this is probably based on the test results. Okay, based on the fact that this knife was Rockwell at around 58 HRC and outcut this knife by where are we at 27%. I'm going to make the assumption, being that the edge geometry and edge finish are identical, and the cardboard being cut was this identical, that this knife is probably under that Rockwell, okay? Or they did something, what I also think is they do something during the grinding. I think that they overheat these blades. That's why I'm bringing this up, because this knife surprised me. It sharpened real fast, it reprofiled real fast. I didn't expect the numbers to be that low though. None of these knives took a long time to reprofile. None of them were exceptionally difficult or easy. It's just this one in particular just dulled very, very fast. And again, that's significant because I know Gerald over at Outpost 76 has tested 2 or 3 other Lionsteel knives, and they also underperformed. I don't know the exact number, but I'm willing to bet it's somewhere at or under what I got. So yeah, you know, guys can talk all they want, and you can. This is why I'm talking about. It all starts with the performance, guys. I could send this to Peters, and he can poke this thing, and he can tell me this thing is 67 HRC. Okay. Lionsteel, anybody can tell me what these knives numbers are. You can tell me they're at 65 HRC. But when it comes to the cut test, that's where it matters. That's where the rubber hits the road. So this is why this is not an HRC witch hunt. This is a performance witch hunt. This is us trying to find the best performance. And the common denominator between the steels that perform all about the same, with roughly the same composition, being S30, S35, and M390 and its variants, is the Rockwell. Okay, because all other variables are taken care of as much as they need to be. Okay, so yeah, there we go. That's the results. It's exactly the same, guys. A gentleman donated some knives for me to test, and I got a cool test coming out next week. I'm gonna put this M390 to the test again. Okay. And real quick, another thing that I've also gotten a lot of flack about that I need to touch on is reviewers telling me that I need to be careful about putting out this cut data or these HRC numbers because it could affect people's livelihoods, that a company may go under, right? Okay. And I think that's pretty fucking hypocritical, to be honest with you. Because here's the thing. What I'm doing here is objective. I'm getting objective cut data, okay, based on a relevant part of the knife, which is the cutting performance, something that I think is relative to it being a knife. It has to cut, right? And being that we're talking about a steel and it's relative to the other knives that I've tested. So a knife that has a superior steel in the wear resistance department should cut longer. So I'm giving objective data based on the knives that I have tested. I'm going to use Nick Shabazz for an example. I have no problems with Nick Shabazz. I met him at Blade Show. He's a super nice guy. But what I'm saying, I'm using him as an example because we all know about the Shabazz effect, right? We know when Nick Shabazz says something good about a company, they go through the roof, right? You can't find their knives. The Ska-Ha's, the Sleech Bowies, all that bullshit, right? Same effect happens for any reviewer, okay? Whatever your subscriber base, which I have 2,000. I'm talking guys that have 9, 10,000, 20,000, 40,000, 80,000 subscribers. The effect becomes amplified. So when you guys sit there and you turn around and say, I do not recommend this knife. It is not a gem. Or I don't recommend this knife because, I don't know, because without a MXG deep carry pocket clip, this knife is uncarryable. I do not recommend this knife unless you have to spend the extra $20 on a clip. Or you turn around and you say something like, this 940-1 is not recommended because it's far out of its price point when it's put next to other actual $300 knives. Those two things that I gave you an example of are two knives that were recommended against, not recommended to buy by reviewers, based off completely subjective points. Not all the points about them were objective, okay? They were not all objective, okay? They were subjective. So before a reviewer wants to take a shot at me and tell me that me putting out this data could potentially affect the sales of a knife company, needs to stop throwing stones and look at what you're saying. Every single time you thumbs down a knife or you tell somebody, you give a review of a knife and say that people shouldn't get it, and any of the data that you put in there, be it ergonomics, pocket clip placement, or any of the, or steel choice at the given price point. Somebody wanted to bring up Goodhart's Law. Well, newsflash, guys. The stamping of a steel, what was stamped on the side of the blade right here, was in essence Goodhart's Law up until right now. Because I heard reviewers all the time talking about, well, this knife's at $200. Well, I don't really recommend it because at $200 you're only getting D2 steel. So completely, missing the fact whether they've even used the knife or the knife actually does cut, or completely neglecting the heat treat, completely neglecting anything, going solely by what was printed on that blade and using that as a reference for whether or not the knife had good value, which was in turn another part of their good and bad reviews, which again is a subjective issue, value, and is another part of whether they recommend the knife or don't recommend the knife. So what I'm saying is, don't throw stones. Every reviewer out there that recommend a knife based on any sort of, you recommend a knife or don't recommend a knife. You could also, especially with people far more subs than I am, you can also affect a knife company's sales. Remember that. And you also need to remember that part of your review is subjective, and the subjective parts of your review affect whether or not you recommend it. And whether you recommend it or not can affect those sales. I, on the other hand, am giving objective data that I'm collecting in front of everyone. I'm completely transparent about it. I've done them live and I'll continue to do them live. And I've never recommended or not recommended a knife. All I've ever done is shown the data. That's up to the company. Guys want to take pop shots at me because I like to go on Instagram and make funny memes and make fun of companies, when they have baby shit soft ass steel that doesn't perform. Well, it doesn't, and that's funny. And I'm going to make fun of people for it. I'm not telling people to buy anything. I'm not telling anybody not to buy anything. Reviewers do that. Partially based on your own opinion. So, had to get that off my chest. I had a lot of guys coming at me about stuff, so I had to put everybody on a level playing field here, okay? Everybody's got their nose up at me, getting mad at me because I'm putting out actual fucking facts that, as we've seen, companies are listening to. And these companies that are listening to it, I guarantee you, I keep doing this long enough, and Gerald does, and Banner does, and fucking Kenny does, and all these, Blue Collar, everybody starts doing it. You know what we're going to see? We're going to start seeing better steel, better treated steels, harder steels. You're going to start getting your money's worth with this M390. Because companies know that I'm out here, and Gerald's out here, and Banner's out here, and we're checking it. And we're going to report whether or not it performs the way it's supposed to perform. So, now that I got done mathing and all that, cheers, everybody. Like I said, Lee, I'm here for you, brother, with your dick replacement. I think it was a dick. Maybe it was a hip. No, it was a dick replacement. I'm here for you, Lee. Hope y'all have a good day. I got another one coming up the next week with some more of this fun stuff. You guys are going to love that one. I can't wait to get that one done. But cheers, motherfuckers. Y'all have a good weekend.